I think what you said was valuable, but the way you said it was completely shitty.
And what is your motivation of being a chief R&D?
I'm not good in keeping to habits when it comes to doing sports. I have a lot of excuses. In Gong, we have this operating principle, which we call no sugar. I don't think I'm as funny as she laughs, but really
That's the
funny.
secret of the long marriages.
Exactly.
So, Ohad, thank you very much for becoming my guest of my podcast. I'm really excited, and I think we will both enjoy this conversation. As always, I do not give intro to my guests because I'm interested in your perspective of yourself. So the first question is, how would you introduce yourself?
My name is Ohad Parush. I'm married to Ruti. I'm a proud father of 3 children. They're quite old. Free is 23. Yali is 22. He just was released from the army about 3 months ago. And Nir, he's 17 and a half. And he is supposed to be in 12th grade. We're not really sure where he is all the time, but that's where he's supposed to be when he's not driving. For the past 4.5 years, I'm the chief R&D officer at Gong, which means that I manage the engineering, the research, and also the security at Gong. I think it's one of the highlights of my career. I started working in software just over 27 years ago, so it's been a long time. And position at Gong is definitely one of the most exciting, challenging, rewarding, interesting roles that I've ever done in my life on many levels, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. And essentially, this is who I am. I live in Maskeret Batya, which is a small town near Rehovot. I get to work by train, which is also important. I was born in Jerusalem, so there is some, kind of remnants from Jerusalem in my past. And that's basically it.
Wow, that's super. I really like that you started from the point that you're married. That already says a lot about you as a person from my perspective. But we will dive into this topic a little bit later. Of course, I looked through your LinkedIn and was trying to find some more information about you. And what I learned is that you've got a very long and very interesting career path. How did you become the chief R&D at Gong? How did it happen?
So I think there is the short story and the long story. The short story is that after a very successful period at Akamai, I decided to take some time off. And when I started looking for a new opportunity, I was approached by Gong. I met with Amit and Elon, the two co-founders. I've met with the rest of the management team. I met some of my current staff in engineering, and that's how we ended up together. So that's the short story. The long story is essentially, throughout my career, I was fortunate to work in many successful companies. Some of them more successful, some of them less successful. So in a sense, when you build your career throughout the time, starting from places like Technomatics, where I really got the foundations of software development. I had some amazing mentors at the time. And going through the various roles, combining both actual hands-on development and starting off as a manager and growing as a manager to the senior management positions, at the end of the day, I think that was what prepared me to take on the very challenging role that I have here at Gong.
I'm interested in your perspective because right now I'm 26, and what I see around my friends and my generation is that it's very common for like 27, 28 years old to become a VP, like a team leads and stuff. But what I feel is that personally, I also set myself such high ambitions. But what I feel is that it's basically not really possible and realistic to become a VP or a director at this early age? Because obviously you don't have enough skills and you cannot have them because of your age, the experience. So I'm interested in your perspective, considering a very long path, career path that you've been through. Right now, you're at the C level. Is it possible nowadays to skip this long path and become a VP or C level faster? Or you still have to invest a lot of time to achieve these positions?
So I think, at the end of the day, everything is possible. So, we have exceptions and, you know, uh, some people are unique and every person is different and every company is different. I've met with someone who was applying for a job here at Gong, and he's now a VP in his own startup that he
Mm-hmm.
founded. And, he's had kind of VP or C-level roles in the last two or three companies. But actually, when I asked him, he never managed more than five people, and that's kind of the sweet spot. So, a VP can mean many things.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have an employee from JP Morgan. Every
Okay.
engineer there is a VP. It's just a title. So I think we need to be
Okay.
careful about the official titles. Um, there's also kind of sometimes the notion, especially in Israel, when people get out of the army, they have a lot of experience, and then they want to jump into management roles. But again,
Mm-hmm.
it's very different, from managing in the army to managing in the industry. It's a different style, it's a different approach. So some people might fit, some people might not. Here at Gong, for example, we have one of our most successful team leads who is someone, he's almost one of our youngest engineers. He came from the army, is especially talented, both as an engineer and also as a manager, and he's doing an
Mm-hmm.
amazing job. So I think I'm less inclined to kind of to define it in boxes. In general, you do need to go through the levels and build yourself as both from a technical or a technological perspective, and then also from a management perspective. And there are several reasons for that. First of all, once you become a manager, one obviously you have a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of context switching that's involved.
Right.
You find it harder to focus and kind of get into the zone of focusing on one certain thing because you need to always jump from one thing to the other. It also becomes very hard to learn new stuff as an engineer, and it applies to any kind of role. If you're not, if you have the time to learn new stuff, to dive deeper, to experiment, this is actually, it's a gift. As a manager, you have less opportunities to do that. You obviously can do that, but usually it's very focused on the specific task that's currently in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, when you jump into becoming a manager, this is something that you need to take into consideration. On the other hand, as a manager, you see things in a broader perspective. You might have exposure to other aspects of the job or aspects of what the company is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And it also, it becomes more and more complex. Not necessarily bad or good, but more complex. If you manage managers, again, you find yourself in a situation where you're further away from the code, further away from hands-on. You have team leads or managers that are managing the engineers. Suddenly you need to define what is it the role that you take, because now you're managing managers. You don't want to do their job for them. They'll
Yes.
be pissed
Right.
off if you're involved in every decision. But on the other hand, do you are still accountable for what's happening. So building this understanding of what management is at each level is something that takes time, and that's why usually it takes time to build your management persona. Now, there are people that can jump levels, go from managing a team to managing a group within a year or 2 years. Usually, what I do is, when people want to become managers, I usually try to ask them, what's the motivation behind this? Because when you manage people, it's also you're in charge of an area, but you're also in charge of people. You're in
Of
charge of,
course.
first of all, getting the stuff done. You are responsible for the work or the area that you're in charge of to make sure that things are developed. But you're also in charge for the well-being and the development of the people in your team, your engineers. you need to make sure that they're content. You need to make sure that, that they don't leave. Sometimes you need to make sure that you part ways with people that are not a good fit for your team. So when you
Mm-hmm.
hire people, you need to give them performance reviews. You need to make sure that they progress. You need to make sure that they train. So it's a lot of responsibility. Sometimes when people want to become managers, I usually ask them, like I said beforehand, what's the motivation?
And what is your motivation of being a chief R&D?
So first of all, I've been in the management path for quite some time, so many
Yes.
many years. Um, what I love about my role is, first of all, the ability to influence, to make a difference, and
To make a difference, I'm sorry, to make a difference on the product and
to make a difference
that.
on the product, on the infrastructure, on the platform, but also on people. This is
Mhm.
also something that I really enjoy. Influencing people, seeing how they grow, um, helping them become maybe sometimes a better version of themselves, better managers. I enjoy, I have a very challenging team, not challenging in the sense that they're hard to manage, but they challenge me all the time. So I enjoy learning from my team, improving myself, becoming a better version of myself on a regular basis. To me, and again, this is something, it's very personal. I'm very good in context switching. I like being able to see things and jump from one thing to the other and then choose when to dive deeper and when to stay high level. I like seeing things on a broader level and how they interact and how they connect and how they actually come through. I feel fortunate that I'm able to do this in something I love and also in a company that I feel very attached to. So this is essentially where I am, and being able to influence, being able to deliver, being able to handle challenging situations. And we have challenges all around. That's what's driving me and making
You
me
know,
come you know come to work every morning with a smile.
when you said that you like learning from your team as well, I remembered that I found an article that you posted on Medium several years ago. And you said that I don't fall in love with my ideas. And as a C level yourself, how do you objectively evaluate your ideas from such high position?
First of all, again, it's a high position is always relative. So it's always about making the difference where you are. So it's not necessarily about the level that you're at. Um, I think that, and this is something that I'm constantly improving. Bringing your ideas in front of your staff. Sometimes I do it more, sometimes I do it less. When I do it less, I get beaten up by my team. And being open to getting feedback and criticism. Sometimes accepting the criticism. Sometimes telling them, guys, let's do it this way because this is the I'm in charge. I'm responsible. This is how we're going to do this, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But having this discussion, and I hope that it also reflects on the kind of dialogue that they have with their teams and staffs.
And let's imagine a situation. So your subordinate, for instance, not a team lead, but just, I don't know, a senior somebody from your team came to you and he or she disagrees with your opinion or your idea that you presented during a meeting. What would you do? How would you handle that situation?
So it happens all the time. Here at Gong, we are very open to criticism and we're not hierarchy led. So anyone can come into my room and share with me their concerns or objections or frustrations.
Hmm.
And I'll try to find the time to hear them out. I just a few weeks ago, I was proven wrong by one of our staff engineers. We had kind of a debate about how we can optimize some queries running on Postgres. I thought that were optimized enough. He was adamant that we need to do more. He took the time to actually go and develop this, and I was happy to see that he proved me wrong. because he was able to improve performance by 10x or something like that because of
Mm-hmm.
a new approach that he implemented, which I didn't think about, and I'm happy about this. And so the notion is that we're very open to criticism. We're very open to new ideas. Everyone we'll try to hear out everyone in whatever forum, whether it's in forums that I participate in, forums that the other managers, even C-levels participate. We try to bring people and give them the environment to that they would feel comfortable to voice their opinions,
Yeah.
and we're happy to change our minds. Now, sometimes we don't change our minds because we need to look at the broader situation. Things that they might not be aware of. It could be time constraints, resource constraints, customer constraints. So the decision might not be what they would have wanted us to do, but this is also kind of happens through discussion, not negotiation, through discussion.
And speaking about criticism, I want to shift a little bit to you as a person, not only as an employee of Gong, but like from your real life. I mean, your family, your friends. How do you react to criticism?
Yeah.
Is it
Um,
painful for you, or you're just, you know, so much relaxed and like, hey, yeah, I accept that I was wrong? How do you honestly
yeah.
handle that?
So there doesn't go a day that I don't make mistakes. You make a lot of mistakes. You make decisions. You interact with people. You make mistakes. You need to admit your mistakes. Receiving criticism is never easy, especially when you know that you screwed up, or when you hurt someone, or when you made a mistake and you might have made the wrong decision. So it's never easy, but it's important. Getting credit and compliments is great, and it's also very important because people need to know that you did well. And you want to know that you did well. You're investing a lot of energy. You want to know that you did well. People, it's important for us as a people. No one, if someone tells you that they don't like receiving compliments or they think that it's a waste of time, don't believe them. They're lying. Okay. But at the same time, criticism is something that we as managers, as employees, as people, we need to be able to accept. Just the other day, it's interesting. We had completely outside of work. I'm part of a community in Masker Batya. We had a discussion. It's a religious community. We had a discussion about how we're going to celebrate Simchat Torah. Okay,
Hmm.
and because of it's a year after the October 7th, and we had this very heated discussion, because usually you go out and dance, but because it's a year, it will be awkward. And we had this heated discussion, and in the heat of the discussion, I said, I voiced my opinion, but I voiced it in a very stern manner. Okay,
Hmm.
and about 10 days afterwards, a friend of mine came to me and said, I think I think what you said was valuable, but the way you said it was completely shitty. You shouldn't have done that.
Right. Right.
And obviously, when you say that, it's when you hear that, it's not easy to accept that.
Absolutely.
Um, and but I thought about this, and he was completely right. So I admitted it immediately, and then it took me 3 more days to actually text him and tell him, thanks again. It's you're right. I shouldn't have done this. I should have been more kind of reserved, because this is how, if you're passing on feedback, this would be better received, because delivering feedback, painful feedback, is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes you just want to pass on, and let's not deliver this feedback, because you need, when you deliver feedback in a way, you're creating some sort of a tension between the two people. So sometimes people decide, okay, let's not deliver feedback. You try to rationalize, and you say to yourself, it's not that bad. It was one time. He doesn't really do this.
Hmm.
She doesn't behave like that, etc. But as a manager, I think that one of our responsibilities is to deliver very honest and direct feedback. In Gong, we have
Yeah.
this operating principle, which we call no sugar. But we need
No
to be
sugar.
careful. No sugar. So, but
Okay. What does it mean?
It means that when you deliver, when you have open discussions or when you deliver feedback, deliver it as is. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Okay,
Okay.
as is, because that's how people learn. Obviously, you need to be. You don't need to, in a way, shame people. That's something you shouldn't do. You need to be full about, people, state, etc. But delivering feedback is, I think it's the most important thing that you can do as a manager. For example, my son, he's been driving now for 6 months. He doesn't know how to receive feedback from his mother on the way that he drives. Okay. And we're working on it. We're working on it. It's a daily battle.
It's interesting, yes, because you said about the feedback for like as a manager, but also I thought that you have kids, and what's more difficult, again, from my perspective, to deliver feedback to your kids and for them to perceive it and for them to like to make some conclusions based on this feedback. So that's the real job, because you don't want to offend your kids, but you also want them to, become great people. So
Yeah, it's
here's
it's you
the
know it's
challenge,
it's not it's not it's your kids, it's your spouse. You
right?
know, receiving feedback, which is sometimes it could be very painful. From
Right.
from the person who's the most, the closest to you.
I'm interested in. You mentioned before we started speaking about the feedback. You mentioned somehow the mistakes that you've got. You had already a very long path, and you're gonna have it continuing. But mistakes. What was your biggest mistake from your perspective?
It's you make, when you are in management, when you're involved in so many
No, no, no,
decisions.
not from the job perspective, from the
Ah,
personal perspective.
as a person, the
Yes.
biggest mistake. Um, Let me think. I don't recall any major mistakes that I've made. I feel very fortunate again, as a family, as a person, that let me share with you. Again, this was earlier in my career. You talked earlier about the ability to, that you have friends, you're 26, 27, that go and become managers too soon. I was also there, because again, when you're young, um, you're trying to run faster. You're seeing people around you. You know, you have this kind of hubris that you feel like, this is easy for me. I can do more. I can do more. And I remember that, I was a rather, fresh team lead, and I
Mm-hmm.
applied, in my friend's company. A friend of mine was working in another company, and I applied for a group lead role, managing team leads.
Okay.
Um, and obviously, I did not accept. I was not accepted, because I didn't have enough experience, enough background. I could not at the time manage, and actually, mentor and manage more experienced team leads.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was obviously rejected. It's never a good feeling to be rejected. No one likes it. Um, and in hindsight, I think it was a mistake. I think, nothing happened. But I think it was a mistake and kind of a miscalculation on how to build my career and how to invest in it, and not to jump to necessarily, or jump over simple steps. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I can give you another example. I was offered, um, a that was back in 2003, so over 20 years ago. I was working at one company at the time, a very successful company at the time called Schema. And a friend of mine approached me and offered me, to check out a position as a group manager in a FIS, which was a company that was developing software for insurance in
Mm-hmm.
England. In England, so taking
With
on
the
this role
relocation.
with a relocation.
Okay.
And my wife and I, we only had two children at the time, very young. We're very agile. We're very open to new ideas. And within 2 months, we were living in the UK. So kind of
Wow.
taking risks, willing to accept that it might be a mistake and we'll come back, but that's, it might be that, I won't be suitable for the job. I might not even like the new company. because I don't have experience. It's not like I have a track record with the company, and we did it. And we ended up spending 4 years in the UK, which were amazing. And the experience, the language, um, the travel. So I think that it's the balance. Sometimes take risks, accept that you might make mistakes, and fulfill your dreams sometimes. And what we always say here at Gong is sometimes learn to fail fast. If you've made a mistake, accept that it's a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. Don't
Yeah.
don't find yourself kind of dwelling in that mistakes because you've made the decision. No, cut your losses quickly, move on, nothing.
And it's very important, I think. I've heard from a lot of people regarding the regrets that regrets are putting you down, that you cannot go with them always. You don't have always to analyze your mistakes. Yes, you did this mistake. Okay, lesson learned. Let's go. Like,
Exactly.
let's go
Mistake,
further.
it all depends on how self-critical you are. So, you've made the mistake, make sure that the mistakes make an impact. You learn from them and then move on and make sure that I believe that people can make mistakes. What we don't accept is people making the same mistake over and over again, or even the second time. That's unacceptable. Making
Yeah.
mistakes because we want to move fast, because we want to deliver things to our customers, because we're running on many aspects. That's fine. We should avoid it. We should have guardrails and everything. Mistakes. As much as possible, make sure that the infrastructure supports us not to make these mistakes. But
Hmm.
mistakes happen because we're moving very fast. But make sure that you don't make the same mistake a second time, because if you do, then it's not a mistake; it's negligence, and this is something that is not acceptable.
I think that only a strong person can learn from the mistakes and move forward. But with this, like, for that, we need support. So I'm interested in who is the biggest support for you in life?
So I'm not going to be original, but definitely my wife. So having someone who is both a partner but also a friend, I think that's the most important thing. And to be completely honest, I also feel like I have support here at Gong, professional support. My colleagues, specifically, I have a great relationship with Elon, who's the chief product officer. We work together as a team, but also my staff.
What is like speaking about your wife, the support from your wife? What is important for you in this support? It's like, what is support for you in general?
Okay, I think support means that you're able to accept the person as is, and you're also able to accept the person on good days and bad days.
Right.
You can always have an open conversation and share ideas, share anecdotes, laugh together. We laugh a lot together. Um, I don't think I'm as funny as she laughs, but I think she's generous to laugh more than really
That's the
funny.
secret of the long marriages.
Exactly. We've been together for 27 years, so I think
Wow.
it does work. And I think also, again, what works for us also is that we come from very different fields. So being able to kind of not be in the same swamp, I
Mm-hmm.
think that also helps out. And having, building together, and by the way, we're very different, very, very different from each other. Um, Being able to identify what it is that we love doing together and what it is that we like doing on our own. To me, again,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about other people. This is what works for me. Okay.
That episode is about you.
Exactly.
Okay. What do you do worst?
Um, I think, I'm not good in tracking dates, when it comes to work. This is not
Okay.
something I do often. I'm not good in keeping to habits when it comes to, doing sports. I have a lot of excuses. So I'm very bad in keeping these types of habits. So
But you're good in making excuses.
I'm very good in making the excuses. They they jump very quickly from wherever. So these are things that I constantly, we're just now before the Jewish New Year, so every year I make the same New Year resolutions about things related to this stuff. But all in all, I it's not about what you do best or what you do worse. It's about the combination and doing something that you enjoy doing, working with people that you care for and that you appreciate, and they care for you.
What was the worst advice that you've ever received in life?
Well, worst advice. I think that advice is overrated. I think a lot of people receive advice or give advice. At the end of the day, you need to be able to make your decisions, hear opinions from others, but also make the decision about what's best for you.
What is your superpower?
My superpower. I think my superpower is the ability to um, hold a lot of things, a lot of aspects together in my head, jump between them, and also the ability to dive deep when needed, and but also understand in a high level what's happening in each one of them, and through that make the right decisions or a decision, or through that and through my team make the right decision.